Welcome to another episode of Biz in the 916. I'm Kristin Berkery, and I've been a marketing, advertising, and technology professional for 25 years. We're recording here in the 916. That's Sacramento, California, for those of you listening elsewhere. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Kim Brooks, Senior Communications Editor for Servpro, to Biz in the 916. Kim is based in Nashville, Tennessee, but there's a connection to Sacramento. Full disclosure, Kim and I are actually sisters, but there's more to it than that. Servpro is a cleanup and restoration company that was first started in Sacramento in the late 1960s. You've probably seen their green and orange trucks all over the Sacramento area. In 1988, Servpro made a strategic decision to move its headquarters to Gallatin, Tennessee, so they would be within 600 miles of 50% of the U.S. population. But Servpro hasn't forgotten its roots here in NorCal. Later this month, the company is hosting its 50th annual convention right here in downtown Sacramento. So I wanted to ask Kim some questions about Servpro, including why we see so many of their trucks all over our region. Thank you for joining us today, Kim.
Thanks so much for having me.
Servpro is a cleanup and restoration company. So what does that mean they do?
What I always say to people when they say, what is Servpro? I always say Servpro provides fire and water cleanup and restoration. So basically what that means to the regular person is if you have a water or fire damage at your house, we're the folks you call. So aside from those more common losses, we also offer a variety of other services like mold remediation, duct cleaning, traditional cleaning, deodorization, biohazard cleanup, and even vandalism and graffiti removal. So you name it, anything from a dishwasher leak to a large-scale natural disaster, that's what we do. So we actually have what we call disaster recovery teams as well, and they deploy from across the United States to assist the local franchises in your areas in major events. Last year, we actually helped following the Camp and Woolsey fires there in California. Last year was actually a very active year for weather. We saw several major events. We saw Hurricane Michael and Hurricane Florence. We've had a lot of cleanup going on down in Mexico Beach. This year, we've had teams deployed to southern Missouri, Iowa, and Ohio for flooding. And then earlier this year, we actually had a polar vortex freeze event in the Midwest that our teams deployed to. So we've got over 1,700 franchises across North America. And then we have strategically placed storm teams. So we are, quote unquote, ready for whatever happens. And then with that large footprint, faster to any size disaster.
How long have you worked at Servpro?
So I've actually been at Servpro right at 8 years. I will actually celebrate my 8-year anniversary at our annual convention in Sacramento. So my very first day on the job was a convention in St. Louis. But so I have been with Servpro for just right at 8 years. I currently handle public relations and media for the corporate headquarters as well as the franchise system. I also handle brand reputation management or crisis communications. I'm heavily involved in internal comms, and we have a really unique communication channel called Servpro Television. We broadcast a 30-minute magazine-style news program twice a month, and it covers the highlights and important things happening in the system, introduces resources, anything that we feel we need to communicate to the franchise system. It's been very well received. We've been doing it for about 5 years now, and it's just an entertaining and different way to communicate with our franchisees.
What is your role in putting on Servpro Television?
So I actually am one of the hosts of Servpro Television. Prior to joining Servpro, my original right out of college job was I was actually in television. When I came to Servpro, they had already kind of started discussing Servpro Television as an option for a communication channel. And I was very excited all over it because having had a television background, I thought it was very forward thinking for a corporation to think about this as an option for communication. And of course, I wanted to be involved because it kind of gave me that taste of what I used to do, but in a new environment.
Yeah, you mentioned that you started your career in TV news. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. I actually was a reporter and anchor and one-man band, you name it. I started at a small television station in Kentucky, later moved to Nashville and became sort of the newsroom manager. I also was a fill-in reporter which basically meant I covered all of the shifts that no one wanted, nights, weekends, holidays, you name it. I was your girl. And so I did that for about 7 years. I was in television, and I thought I just eventually needed a change. And so when I left television, I went a completely different direction and worked for the American Cancer Society. I met a lot of people. I managed community events and fundraising, and I had probably 15 to 20 volunteers that worked at the Servpro headquarters. So after 5 or so years of being out of a communications style career, I was really missing writing and doing that creative portion. And so I was talking to one of my volunteers who I'd become a friend with, who worked at Servpro Corporate. And I was telling her about this, and she said, well, that's interesting. We just had a communication position open at Servpro. And I guess the rest, as they say, is history.
What was one of the biggest challenges of your career that you had to overcome to be successful?
I think personally, probably one of the biggest challenges I've dealt with professionally is coming back to work after having my daughter. I still consider myself a relatively new mom. My daughter is turning 16 months this week. And I feel like it really just took almost a full year for me to truly start to feel okay with being back to work and to really feel effective and like I was making a difference. Yeah. And I know that sounds bad, but don't misunderstand. I was still doing my job and making an impact, but how I felt internally, I almost felt like a shell of my former self. Yeah. You know, your priorities shift so dramatically, and trying to get into this mode of being a working professional took some time. And I really think that I just kind of briefly lost my confidence and almost who I was, because I was struggling so much internally with being away from my daughter, but also working and having those obligations. And it's been a very interesting journey. I'm very fortunate that I have an amazing work family and job with Servpro. My supervisors have been amazing. My team has been very supportive. And so ultimately for me, what I had to kind of do is find a way to re-engage and reconnect with the things that made me happy professionally. And so I sat down with my supervisors and talked to them, and they were incredibly supportive and encouraging. And as such, I've been able to take on new opportunities. I've been able to get out into the field, into the Servpro system, and present more with our franchisees. And so that's just really re-energized me, and it's kind of helped me refocus.
Yeah, I have continued to push my career forward, but I shape my career so that I can continue to meet my kids' needs, because they're always there. When you're a mom, they're always there in the back of your mind, and you wonder what they're doing and how they're doing, and you want to be there for those important moments in their lives.
Absolutely. And it's so wonderful to have, you know, if you have a more traditional style position, like I do with a corporate office, that they are still able to offer you a little bit of flexibility to kind of help navigate that new world that you're in. So it's been great. It's a wonderful system. You know, it's very much a family atmosphere here at corporate and within the system.
What kind of advice do you have for young women who are just getting started in their marketing careers?
Confidence is so very important. Being confident in who you are, being confident enough to speak up and share ideas and take chances. Sort of in that same vein, keeping sight of yourself and your beliefs. It's really easy to get bogged down and to fall into a routine of the daily grind. But if you're passionate and you have big ideas, share those. Will every idea be put into action? Probably not, but they definitely won't if they just stay in your head. So I just think that having confidence in yourself, who you are, you don't have to have your life mapped out in front of you, but having goals of things that you'd like to accomplish, even if they're small goals. You know, look for ways to grow and better yourself professionally. Don't wait for opportunity to fall in your lap. Go get it. Yes. Even the most confident people, you know, second guess themselves at times, but as long as you can kind of recenter and refocus, I think that's really important. I also am a big advocate of putting yourself in front of people, finding ways to get more exposure for yourself and your brand. You know, whether it's volunteering to head up a particular project at work, or if you have the opportunity to present in front of a meeting or something like that, finding a way to, like I said, showcase yourself, your brand, what you bring to the table, people won't know if you don't show them. It's challenging. You have to push yourself out of your comfort zone sometimes, but I mean, that's
Yes.
the only way we grow, right?
That's an interesting point you made. Not only are we representing the brands of our employers or our clients, we're also representing our own individual brands. And in order to continue to move our careers forward, we need to promote our own individual brands to be successful.
Absolutely.
Entrepreneur Magazine calls Servpro one of the best franchise opportunities for small businesses. It's actually number 28 on the list of 500 franchises nationwide. And we have at least 10 Servpro franchises here in the Sacramento area. What makes a Servpro franchise such a great investment?
We're actually really proud that we've been on the entrepreneur list. Actually, I've got it in front of me. I had to pull it for another project last week, but we have been on that list since as far back as 1980. So that's
Wow.
some, a real feather in our cap that we really are proud of, and something we like to show people when they're interested in looking at the franchise opportunities at Servpro. We're consistently ranked number one in our category, and we fluctuated a bit through the years on the ranking because of the criteria they use, but we've been as high as number 4. So we truly feel Servpro has been a great franchise opportunity for a long time and will continue to be. A large part of what makes Servpro such a great investment is the system itself. The training provided. New owners actually go through an intense 15-day on-site training process here at corporate headquarters, where you learn everything from, how to do your accounting to how to actually clean. They do hands-on training here at corporate. We've got 2 houses here at corporate, one inside the building that we smoke once a month, that they clean. So the first time they're cleaning something is not your property.
Right.
And we've got another house outside that we flood twice a month so that they can also do the hands-on cleaning. Yes, so you can imagine. I think it would be really fun to have that person's job who gets to set things on fire and to flood a house a couple times a
Exactly.
month.
I want that job.
Absolutely. But what's interesting is even the corporate employees go through this training, because the idea is we want to make sure that everybody here understands what the franchise owners go through. Our jobs here at corporate is to support the franchise system, and we wouldn't have a job without them. So
Right.
we are there with them in the beginning, and then that support continues. So, they've got this great resource in the corporate headquarters. We've been franchising for 50 years now, so the system has really been fine-tuned. Also, another big draw, I believe, is that it's a recession-resistant model. Even in bad times, there are still water damages and fires and natural disasters. So even when the economy may not be at its best, there's still work for Servpro franchise owners. And then the strength of the brand in the marketplace. Research shows us that we are the most recognized brand in our industry, which is a huge deal. That's what you mentioned earlier, the green vans. That's what everybody associates with us with. I hear from people all the time, oh, I saw your green truck here, and once you work at Servpro, you can't go anywhere without seeing a green truck. They stick out. And then I think what's really great and an unexpected benefit of being a part of the Servpro family is the personal satisfaction that you can gain from the work. Even though it is a for-profit business, you get to help people in their times of need. And it brings a lot of meaning to be able to help people and serve people. And sometimes what is their greatest time of need, especially following a natural disaster or something like that. So I think those are probably some really huge points of why the Servpro system is so great.
Sacramento is hosting Servpro's 50th annual convention later this month. Why did Servpro decide to hold the event here?
Well, we felt it was only fitting to basically go home. It's a big year. This is where Servpro started. So this year we celebrate 50 years of franchising. So we're going back home, back where we began. The Servpro story began in Sacramento with Ted and Doris Isaacson launching Servpro in 1967. They actually started it as a painting business right out of their dining room. So and they had small children playing around their feet. It's a very standard story of the American dream, and people, the entrepreneurial spirit. which is still very much alive and well in the Servpro system, on the walls throughout corporate. And one of our big tenets is helping entrepreneurs succeed. That's really what Servpro is about. It started in 1967, quickly transformed into a cleanup and restoration business because they had a background in cleaning and restoration, and then sold their first franchise in 1969. 10 years later, they acquired 175 franchises from the Bristol Myers Domestic Care Division, and they were well on their way to becoming a large franchising company. So as you mentioned earlier, in 1988, we relocated the corporate headquarters from Sacramento to Gallatin, Tennessee, which is northeast of Nashville, about 40 minutes or so. And it was a strategic move to try to place the corporate office within 600 miles of 50% of the U.S. population. So logistically, it just made sense with shipping supplies and products and equipment and things like that, and being able to reach people a little bit more quickly. And at the time of the relocation, Servpro had 647 franchises. And now today, we're up to over 1,700 in the U.S. and Canada.
Do you have any special activities planned for the 50th anniversary annual convention?
Our opening night is always a fun night. It's the kickoff for the event. And so it's always a little bit of a party atmosphere. They're doing kind of a fun theme. It's the summer of 69 since Servpro was started franchising in 69. So there's a costume contest. It's coming, your best tie-dye or bell bottoms, whatever you've got. So that should be really fun. And then throughout the week, we've got some special things planned. We'll have general sessions 3 days during the week where we'll have guest speakers. We're going to have our own little spin on Servpro history. The theme is making history because our franchisees make history every day. So it's going to be a fun week. I'm really looking forward to it. It's always fun to get together with our franchisees and have everybody together. And it'll be even more special to be back in Sacramento.
Thank you for talking with us today, Kim. Listeners can learn more about Servpro by visiting servpro.com. That's servpro.com. I've enjoyed learning about a company I see all over our region that I really didn't know anything about. I'm so glad Servpro's employees and franchisees get the chance to check out Sacramento and try some of our amazing farm-to-fork food and drink. Enjoy the convention.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you to Biz and the 916 listeners. I'm Kristin Berkery, and you can learn more about my business at kberkery.com. That's KBERKERY.com. I invite you to join us in the lounge for the next Biz in the 916. Stay tuned for future episodes, where I'll be talking to more business professionals who have overcome challenges and become successful. They'll share their wisdom and help you shorten your learning curve.